Despite being 8 years in the oven, CD Projekt Red's follow-up to the iconic Witcher 3 is a smouldering tire fire on everything other than PC and next-gen hardware. Even on both PS5 and Xbox Series X/S, we're seeing repeat crashes, quest-breaking bugs, and animation clipping, but that's nothing compared to the millions of customers who pre-ordered on PS4 and Xbox One, or the half-step systems that came after, only to receive a staggeringly broken product. Worse still, CDPR restricted access to these versions of the game before launch. Reviewers like ourselves were only given PC code, told to capture our own gameplay at a later date, and pre-launch console copies in the wild were copyright struck on YouTube. Clearly, CDPR knew they had a stinker on their hands and were attempting to minimize blowback, which has now more than exploded. Thankfully, they very recently got out and apologized for the state of the game, promising one more patch before the close of 2020, which might be live now, with the rest of the major work coming in 2 additional fixes scheduled for both January and February 2021. For now though, conversations on Cyberpunk aren't going anywhere. Technical hitches are one thing, but the more people play, the more positives and negatives they find, in regards to core mechanics. If the PC version is anything to go by, there's an incredible RPG buried somewhere underneath all this jank, but for now, I'm Scott from WhatCulture.com, and this is Cyberpunk 2077, 9 obvious fixes we can't believe it needs. Number 9, the crashes, especially on PS4 and PS5. Clearly, point 1 is the all-out hard crashes that PlayStation owners are experiencing in abundance across PS4 and PS5. Even with the Day 1 patch and the 1.04 hotfix that went out on December 11th, the game still routinely crashes every half hour or so. Freezing and kicking you back to the dashboard, the issue apparently relates to a memory buildup error, coming from how PlayStation architecture reads game data. Neither the PC, Stadia, or Xbox versions have this problem anywhere near as much, and with Cyberpunk pulling in so many assets from world geometry to set pieces, conversations to overall animations, it means a crash can come at any time. Number 8. Police AI, wanted levels, and car chases. Something those who have managed to play quickly realized, the game's police presence and implementation is straight up bizarre. As it stands, the police do have GTA's multi-star wanted level system, but there are no car chases in Cyberpunk outside of scripted story sequences. The police don't actually drive, nor can they access police vehicles to pursue you if you try to make a getaway in a car or on a bike. On foot, they'll spawn behind you when a crime is committed, no matter the location, just knowing what you did regardless of where you did it. Even weirder is how quickly any level of being wanted can be totally erased. Just jump in a vehicle, drive for 10 to 15 seconds, and as there's no AI to do anything other than run behind you, all is forgiven. You can literally slaughter an entire city block and rank up the max wanted level, then disappear around a corner and everything will reset. Cyberpunk is obviously not GTA, but why have police and wanted systems in the game at all if they're so half-baked? Number 7, NPCs animation variation and reacting to you in the same way. Speaking of half-baked, Cyberpunk's NPCs can often feel like set dressing. Yes, you can be propositioned by sex workers when walking through specific districts, and there are a range of animations many individuals can pose in, but that's about it. Even for the latter point, many pedestrians will repeat the same animations in the same spot, with only their skins changing, as though the game has been told to populate a specific corner with a set number of people doing a particular thing, and only the aesthetic will ever change. This all comes after senior level designer Miles Tost and senior quest designer Philip Weber told German gaming site GameStar that over 1,000 NPC types in the game would have handmade routines. Also, pull out a gun or engage in criminal behavior and every NPC will all at once duck for cover in the exact same animation on the spot. It's one of the many aspects of the game that again feels strangely unfinished, considering the confidence that CD Projekt had pre-release. Number 6. Let us change our appearance after the intro. Far less important than fixing hard locks is the notion of character customization, which is to say that you can customize your character's look once at the very beginning of the game, and that's it. Sure, you can swap out parts of your skeleton, implant subdermal armor underneath your skin, or get blades put in your forearms, but changing your hair, eye color, or anything else? Nope. As a potentially random but apt comparison, Saints Row 3 and 4 went hog wild with character customization, letting you swap everything from overall body size to even your gender whenever you wanted. For Cyberpunk to steer headfirst into this subject matter, i.e. the idea of treating your body as meat that can be changed in a million different ways, then not make good on it is another weird omission. Sadly, you also can't preview clothes at any of the merchants, meaning you have to purchase something on blind faith, hop out of a storefront to try it, then realize it's no good and swap it for something else. And no, the irony is not lost that this is the exact way millions of players experienced Cyberpunk. Number 5. So many animation bugs. Back to the bigger deal stuff, as chances are you're seeing an animation bug 100% of the time when playing a particular session. I had one in the opening seconds of the game, where playing as a street kid, I looked along the bar next to where I was sitting, only to find a woman with no legs and floating shoes perched on a stool. Another came when I sat down with gang leader Dum Dum, where as V I was attempting to have a serious conversation about securing a drone he was in possession of, only for V's arms to be permanently doing a dab to the right hand side. Characters clip in and out of vehicles, objects replace themselves in cutscenes, random parts of the environment explode for no reason. It really is something else. Number 4, and all the scripting bugs. I'm going to separate these out because scripting issues are a whole other kettle of sporadically disappearing fish. While animation bugs can sometimes be hilarious, providing they're not getting in the way of major story scenes, scripting bugs are a completely different level of purgatorial hell. A staple of many open-world RPGs that have literal millions of moving parts, all it takes is one link in that chain of computations to backfire, and you're stuck in an elevator with the door never opening, your companion never triggering the next scene, or something else roadblocking your progress out of nowhere. Scripting bugs are the one thing all players can agree need work, and with Cyberpunk's main story being full of high-octane gunfights, car chases and set pieces, any wrong move and someone's memory of the game's best moments is ruined forever. Number 3, no food or drink interactions. Well, I'm gonna have to bust out the thesaurus to avoid using strange, bizarre, and weird again, because it is downright peculiar that in a city otherwise living up to being the most well-realized metropolis in gaming history, you can barely interact with any of it. Now, I've covered the police feeling like magnetized mannequins, but food vendors get treated the same way as clothing. You walk into a bar or up to a food vendor on the street, and it's one of two interactions. 1, you can order a drink, but you're taken to a soulless transaction menu where said drink goes into your inventory rather than anything played out/visible. Or 2, the person can't actually be interacted with, letting you push a button to talk to them, triggering an insult or otherwise inane piece of dialogue in return. Either way, there are 0 eating or drinking animations in the game outside story-based encounters. You can order a burrito from a vending machine or eat food and drink found on surfaces with the push of a button, but both times it just disappears and you get a sound effect instead. Whilst obviously the latter doesn't need a specific drawn-out animation, being able to sit or eat in the many outlets around Night City felt like it would be a given before release. Number 2, NPC AI while driving. Something else that once you start analyzing it in any detail falls apart completely is NPC AI. I mentioned car chases in regards to police, but no gang members or angry NPCs will ever give chase, react to you holding a weapon, or even drive around obstacles in the road because Cyberpunk's NPC driving AI has them bolted to a set path around the city. Despite this being supremely lame when compared to the idea from earlier that each individual NPC would have their own routine, the fact is yet another core pillar of the Cyberpunk experience is undercooked. And number 1, vehicle physics. Cyberpunk 2077's driving physics are like a more weighed down version of the original Mako from the first Mass Effect. Now, while personally I've always loved that thing in a guilty pleasure kind of way, at no point were we trying to pilot the Mako at the speeds that you can reach here. Nor did it randomly take off, ping out of control because you hit an enemy on the ground, or disappear through the floor completely. In another, just what the hell is happening realization, 2077's driving physics are a law unto themselves. Coming off the motorway down a hill and need to make a turn, well, if you're on a bike, it'll just maintain its elevated height and float right over the barrier as though gravity doesn't apply. Cars, trucks, and more have wildly fluctuating momentum, giving an unreliable feeling to driving anything at any velocity, as you never know exactly how much to brake or swing your ride around a corner to make an apex. Also, tiny final point, but the minimap is way too zoomed in while driving. There's no way to anticipate a corner at speed, and you'll blow past every turn trying to react in time. All in all, Cyberpunk has come in very hot, smouldering even. It's easy to forget that The Witcher 3 also released in a state that needed multiple sizable patches for months after launch, but for CDPR to repeat history to an arguably more disastrous degree, after 8 years of development no less, is nothing less than shocking and disappointing in equal measure. My heart goes out to the developers trying to get this thing turned around, because Lord knows there's one hell of a story waiting to be unearthed as to how all of this rolled out. Let me know what you think down in the comments. Are you just going to wait until 2021 to play this, or does everything that I've said not actually bother you too much? For now, I've been Scott from WhatCulture.com. Please check out the WhatCulture Gaming Podcast, and I'll catch you soon.